All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Serious Angler podcast. Not so serious, I guess, tonight, but as always, I'm your host, Bailey Egbert, and joined with me is the captain, Mr. Andy Full. And taking a little break from the business from the bass boat we have below us, Adam Deacon. Dude, it's been a while since you joined us.
On the Serious Angler Show, yeah, man. It has, especially without when we don't have fantasy fishing shows. It's just hard to connect on stuff. So I'm with you.
I know we have nothing to bicker about.
Oh man, I miss it.
Well, welcome back. Welcome back.
Yeah, I'll. You know what? Actually, before we get going here, we gotta set the tone here. We started playing around with a little music. Adam put in a little request for tonight's show because it's a little Halloween special. We'll be talking some spooky stories. Let's see if this can roll here. There we go. Now we got some stuff to set the mood for tonight. It's gonna be fun though. We're gonna be talking about some like wild stuff that we've seen on the water, some scary things, kind of some stuff that you have nightmares about, and we have some surprise guests coming on that have not been on the show in a very long time. And by the way, if the music is actually bothering anyone, let us know. We're just trying it out, just being festive. Just throw it down in the comments. But it's fun. But boys, how'd you guys spend your Halloween? I know it's the day after Halloween tonight, or last night was Halloween. So how'd you guys celebrate?
Well, we took our daughter trick or treating, and she is ever excited. But I think she already forgot about the candy because it's sitting like in her cupboard, and she didn't ask for a single piece today. And I'm like, yes,
hey,
more
she's
for
got
me.
hope.
Yes,
Smart kid.
Yeah. How about you, Deacon?
Yeah, man. I mean, just we had some drinks and made a bunch, like all the roommates in the house. We made a bunch of food, like a bunch of different appetizers. That was fun, and then just passed out candy. And so overall, it's a good night, man.
Nice.
Heck yeah.
I think this is the first year ever that I've never done anything for Halloween.
Welcome to the grown-up life.
I honestly literally forgot about it, that it was even happening until like Saturday when I'm on the water and Land's like, hey, are we doing anything for Halloween? And I was like, oh yeah, that's this weekend, isn't it? I had no idea that it was even existing.
It happens.
Yeah. I will say it's kind of probably spooky for you, Andy, and all these horrible trades that the Bills are making today.
Oh, I love both of them, actually. Dean Marlowe was with the team. He's just a depth piece. So who knows how long Jordan Poyer is going to be out. Hopefully not too long. So it's an added piece. Right now we have 3 safeties on the roster. Jordan Poyer, DeMar Hamlin, and Jaquan Johnson. So we needed a 4th safety. So that was a good pick, and he's been in the system for a while before he went to Detroit and Atlanta. And Naheem Hines, he's a pass-catching running back to basically duel with Singletary and James Cook, so I guess trio, and they got rid of Zach Moss, who was riding the bench. So it's an upgrade. It's fine. Yeah.
Guess we'll see how it pans out.
It'll be fine.
Yeah. And bigger news, we got Larry Nixon is making his resurgence back to the Elite Series. You guys have any thoughts on that before we bring our guest on today?
It's kind of exciting. It's kind of cool to see the old guys in the fray. I wonder how much technology will leave him behind, or how well he's adapted to the newer technology with the anglers in today's game.
That would be interesting. I mean, for some folks, it hasn't slowed him down. I mean, look at Hackney. Hackney's still doing this thing.
Yeah. I guess my thoughts are it's just interesting right now that there's so much uncertainty in the fishing world, tournament wise, and I'm curious to see. You hear rumblings of certain anglers doing this and going to fish the 9 opens. I'm really curious to see where some of our big names go and that kind of stuff into this next year.
Yeah, we're gonna probably see Bobby Lane in the 9 opens next year. He left the BPT, which is interesting.
Red Crest champion. Yeah.
Kind of interesting to see. I think the next couple of months are going to be very intriguing to see what happens with, I think, more MLF than Bass at this point. I think Bass is probably done with their changes. But I think with MLF, it's going to be intriguing to see what they might do going forward.
Yeah. I hope it doesn't turn into like a tumultuous time for BPT and MLF, kind of like how FLW went through it there for a while, and all the other like startup leagues that kind of show up, like the PAA. They have a couple good years, and then all of a sudden they just kind of fade away. And I hope that's not what happens to BPT, because it's kind of cool to see the fish care side of things that they really like. That's the reasoning behind the trail, right? It's all about environmental impact, taking care of the fish, no dead fish, everything's catch, weigh, release. So that part of it is cool, but I wonder how much the decision making is being made because they decided to go to the 5 fish format, and guys are like, if it's 5 fish, I should just go back to where the real stage is. And that's what I'm wondering, if that's the thought process behind the whole thing is.
Chris's comment here. You young guns think all us old guys forget how to fish.
Chris, I didn't say that. I know you know how to fish, and I know all the older gentlemen and ladies in the game know how to fish as well.
And he is old now.
Strength. Yeah, I'm the old of this group, all right? Like, I'm like father time over here.
Oh my god.
I'm just
Father
kidding.
Cap.
Father Cap.
Well, boys, I think we should just start getting into what we want to talk about tonight. Just talking about some spooky and scary crap that we've seen out on the water, but I don't think we can. Are we going to talk about the concussion that Bailey? Oh, talking about
the at Waterport Reservoir. Yeah, that's hilarious.
So funny.
That poor fish.
I don't know why people went nuts. I had like a crap ton of people that were like laughing. But dude, I had like 20% of the comments of like, why would you need to set the hook like that? Why would you treat a fish like that? And I'm like, oh my god, this is TikTok.
Yeah, I bet that does. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's just hilarious. But yeah, we'll end quote there. And let's start. Let's bring on one of our first guests for tonight. We'll go one at a time here. A guy that's been on the show a few times, hasn't been on. Well, they both haven't been on in a long time. But he's now a new captain and a soon-to-be guide, Mr. Caleb Bell. What's going on, buddy?
Not much, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, dude, it's good to see you back in here. It's been a long time since we got you on here, and it's nice to see that recovery is going way better.
Got the old arm working again pretty good.
It's
working.
Yeah.
Full range of motion.
Heck yeah. Well, dude, you told us offline here that you are now about to start guiding.
That's right.
Give people an update before we start rolling into tonight.
Yeah, so I started the process. It's something I've been talking about for 4 or 5 years, posting videos on Chickamauga, really big bass, and of course some of those live bait videos I did with my buddy Heath. And there was just a huge outpouring of people messaging me since that. I mean, over the last couple of years, just trying to see, hey, can you guide to do this? Can you take us out and do this? And I'm like, I can't charge you anything to do it because I don't have a captain's license, you know? And so I'm just trying to fill that gap now. Also, I got a commercial bait dealer's license, so I'll be able to sell, you know, the gizzard shad that I catch to some of the local tackle shops and stuff, and hopefully kind of keep that whole cycle going because there's so many people interested in trying it, but it's just a lot of work and a lot of front-end cost. I mean, especially if you don't know what you're doing, setting up a proper bait tank and getting a big enough cast net to catch gizzard shad in 25 foot of water in the wintertime, and it's just all kinds of stuff.
Oh, dude, I'm looking forward to that. And I'm also looking forward to what else you mentioned of you're going to be making a bigger YouTube push, social media. We're going to see a lot more of that face on our social media.
Exactly.
I'm looking forward to it.
Better or worse.
That means your butt's going to be stuck on this show a few more times.
That's right. Let's do it. I'm down for it. It's always a good time.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't anticipate him coming on until later, but I got a text and his ugly mug just hopped in the queue down here. So we might as well bring him on.
Turn that down.
Mr.
There he is.
Yeah, turn that.
It's my Sasquatch.
What's happening? Yes, I'm here.
So, Rud, all you're missing behind that beige wall is turning it blue, and then you can look like Andrew.
I know. I love his. I just got more
his background.
You just muted yourself.
And now you're muted.
We lost your audio.
You muted yourself.
It's going in and out.
Oh, their mute. Your mic is not connected. It's okay. We'll come back to you.
Give him the boot. Give him the boot.
Just give it, throw a thumbs up when you're ready to go.
The news director back in the background. Get rid of this guy.
We'll try with guest number 2 tonight. You throw us a thumbs up if you're ready to go.
Me?
No, it's not. Okay, never mind. We're just gonna throw him into the flames here. He hasn't been on in a very long time, but Mr. Forrest Buckin, what's going on?
What's going on?
What's up, dude?
Usually you stake your reign of terror in the comments, but we invited you back to the stream tonight.
Yeah, you finally decided to love me again.
Yeah.
Been here for the whole thing. From the beginning. Haven't been on in years.
Day one.
Yeah, he is a day one.
Look, I got the
you're
OG hat on.
Oh
That
man.
thing still exists. Holy crap.
Barely.
Yeah. Hey, dude, you were like what, episode 5? Like
Something like
You were
that.
in the first 10. Something, yeah. I don't know what I was thinking back then, but
Thinking you didn't want views.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, buddy, it's good to have you on here. If folks listen to, or not listen, but watch the Be the Fish YouTube channel, my personal channel, all of you guys definitely know Forrest's bright and shining face.
Yeah, and if you're ever watching a Be the Fish video and you hear a beep, it's because of me.
My editing is worse when I go fish with Forrest than it is when I go with Andy.
Yeah, he's like he has to factor in an extra hour to bleeping content.
So when you fish with me, you just have to worry about like random songs being sang and like random phrases.
Always
Forrest, it's
strikes
just cuss
from
words.
verbal songs.
Just constant verbal abuse.
Always
Like,
Christmas
words of
songs
fish.
too.
Yeah, always.
Oh,
Dang
yeah.
it,
My
Forrest,
favorite
stop
word is the
beating
F word.
Erie.
Yeah. I mean, Andy was the same thing for us. We went fishing the other day, and I'm like doing my intro for the video, and Andy just drops the F bomb right there, and I'm like, son of a, like I gotta do it all over again.
I think he's spun the camera to me, and I was like, just big old F bomb right away.
It's like when Mikey tries to film JT Kenny content. Like he has to go through and censor everything and do like 5 takes.
piecemeal it.
Yep. Just broken up every other second, basically.
Yeah.
But all right, we'll bring in our last guest. If he hopefully he's ready to go. We'll try this again.
I think
Mr.
it still says
Sasquatch.
mute.
He's still muted.
It says, "Oh, you muted yourself."
There we go.
Muted.
That's just so I didn't say anything.
We got you now.
Well, here's the deal. I had to apologize to Bethany because the music that you have playing was I thought it was music she had playing.
No.
I was sitting here in the queue and I'm like, where is that music coming from? I know that's not my music. And then I figured out I was like,
down.
Bailey's over here playing spooky music in the back. Ooh, what is that? Okay, I'm here. We're good now.
That made my night. Oh,
Yeah.
that's perfect.
So I yelled at my wife through the wall to turn down something that she wasn't even playing. So there you go.
Well, I think the best part of that is I didn't even think about it, but like the hundreds of messages we're probably going to get after this from you solving the mystery for folks that are listening to this show. They're like, what is going on here?
What is that music? Like, come on. What is a holiday special? So you got to have that spooky holiday music. And I mean, it sounds pretty good. I mean,
Having a holiday special with no costumes.
that's a holiday special with no cost. I mean, I showed up as Bigfoot, but you know,
I mean,
that's a
is that
given.
even a costume? That's just natural at this point.
Right. Yeah.
We have the Lorax in here is what we have.
Speak for
I
the
told him I
trees.
could wear my captain's hat that I've got over there.
Me too. Just know next time we fish together, you're primarily going to be known as Captain. Captain! I need to
Captain,
be Captain. Captain!
Captain.
get the net, Captain.
Yeah, get the
Captain,
next
what
one.
bait are they biting?
Love it.
There's no fish in this lake.
Captain, I'm not catching any.
You ain't getting your tip today.
It's okay. It's Chickamauga. We know.
Oh, God.
No kidding.
Well, boys, let's start talking some wacky stories, because this is our kind of the gist for tonight. Is Deacon had a great idea of like we've talked about some crazy stuff we've seen like fishing, but we never talked about like the stuff that keeps us up at night, gives us nightmares. It's perfect season. Time to do it around Halloween. So stuff that you've seen that straight up just like kind of gives you the heebie-jeebies. You get some goosebumps, and you kind of want to be like, yeah, I'm just gonna kind of let you be and go my own way. After you see it, you might go running.
Every time I go fishing with Bailey,
Honestly,
I wake up in night terrors.
He's got
You
the
actually
sweats.
catch fish for once, though.
Oh,
there it is. Low shot. Low shot.
And
Cue the
Forrest
drum
is the
roll.
first one in timeout tonight. JK. Well, with that being said, then Forrest, lead us off. What's some of the crazy crap you've seen down there in Toledo Bend?
Oh man, that's a laundry list a mile long. Good Lord.
Putting this show together, I was kind of like, obviously, Caleb popped up. Like, Caleb's definitely got some wild stuff he's seen.
Caleb does have some wild stuff, like for real.
But I was like, what other crazy rednecks have seen some wild stuff?
Yeah, I mean,
gotta go for us.
absolutely.
This was not super crazy, but you know, we put out catfish lines all the time down south for like big ops and big blue cats.
Yeah.
And we're using, you know, anywhere from 8 to 10-inch bluegills for bait. So we're using hooks probably about that big, running it through their back, and you go through them looking for a dang, you know, trying to catch catfish. Well, we pulled up running these things one day, and Toledo Bend, you're out in the middle of the lake, stump fields everywhere. Pull up, you know, you're either expecting an empty hook or, you know, a catfish.
Yeah.
Well, we pulled one up one time. We had a dang cormorant.
Oh, God.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Cormorant?
On the hook, man. And, you know, these are probably 10, 12 foot down. And you'll pull that up. You're like, what the heck, man? Expect it. It scares the crap out of you.
That's a weird bird anyway. It's more dinosaur than bird.
Oh, it's like a mini pterodactyl.
Yeah, I don't like them at all.
It's like a mix of a pterodactyl and a loon.
Yeah.
But like it's like the most ratchet loon on the water.
Yeah.
It's
You know
a
what I
ratchet
mean? Like,
loon.
that's
That's
the
dead
meth.
on.
That's the meth
That's
loon.
awesome.
You know what I mean?
That's awesome. Just gonna be running down. Like St. Lawrence River has like a crap ton of them. And I'm just gonna say that now from now on. It's like there's some ratchet loons again.
That needs to be a T-shirt.
Ratchet
Light
loons.
bulb. Oh, that's awesome, dude. Those things are like there needs to be a killing season for them, not even a hunting season.
Dude, okay.
They smell so bad.
Yeah, they
No,
definitely need to be.
It's unreal.
No, so they started like dude, everywhere, right? Like they were in every lake across the country.
Yeah.
And the only people that I knew that could kill them were fisheries managers when they're like at like a fishery, like in like the, at least here it's a bunch of trout tanks, right? Like they can actually shoot them there because it's causing issues with their growing of these fish.
Pocketbook.
Yeah, exactly. But what I found out fishing with Eric Luzak on Champlain this year, because we were hearing gunshots, dude, and I'm like, man, it's July. Like what? Like no one is hunting. And he's like, oh no, like see over there that like island that has all those cormorants on it. Like, yeah, he's like, so they basically started allowing them to shoot cormorants. They tried like the fireworks, they tried all this stuff. But what's happening is they're degrading the trees on these islands so badly, like, you know, because they roost in them all and they get rid of all the vegetation and they just kill these trees. And so they started letting people shoot them. And like, it was like, I mean, it sounded like kind of like a duck season opener. I was like, they're getting after it over there.
Dove season is blasting away.
I would pay money to just go blow those things out of
Oh my
trees. I'll
God.
just tell you right now. Like
Yeah,
I would be
yeah.
a stone cold murderer. Just give me a
That might be
shotgun.
what I do with
T-shirt
my
idea.
captain's license is take people out with shotguns and just start blowing cormorals away.
Oh,
There you go. Caleb's cast and blast.
Yeah, cast and blast. That's perfect.
Lawn darts.
Lawn dart. Yeah.
That's what
Dude,
called
that's
Brooklyn.
such a good point though, because like they're not like afraid of anything. They kind of like almost know that you can't touch them.
Yeah.
I
They'll
would
fly
love
into your freaking boat. Like I've had, I in my life, I've probably had 10 fly into my boat. Like
Whoa.
you be
While you're
running,
running?
yeah, like while you're running, and you think, oh, they'll go the other direction, like every other creature on the lake. No, they're like coming straight, and they just commit suicide and just right in the side of the boat, and it's over. Like,
Dude, that's how poodles are down south too. They just don't get out of the way. You'll run them over.
Did you say
Poodles.
doo-doo zone?
Coots, he's talking. Dude,
Oh,
Pool doos.
oh, I thought he said poodles. I was like,
Thought he
damn,
said
poor poodles
Yeah,
down
dude,
south.
there's schools of poodles down there, man, or flocks of poodles.
Flocks
I
of
thought
poodles
you
everywhere.
said doo-doo
Dude, I
zone.
smoked a coot one time on Clear Lake, running like during the tournament, hauling, and you know, like there's just this row of coots, and I'm like, I'm kind of going around some, and I'm like, all right, there's just this entire bay is filled with coots. Like I'm doing 70 miles an hour, and finally, like this one, it's like, He's not moving. Oh, and like ducked, and I ducked. My co-angler ducked, and it went right between us and smoked the motor. I mean, just like, whoosh.
You gonna learn today.
Learn today. Son.
I've seen videos of guys on social, like they're just doing what you're saying, Adam, and they're just tearing down. There's like a like, I don't know what you call a group of cormorants, but there's like like 50 to 100 of them, and it just goes tearing right through them. Just they don't even move, just mows over like 30 of them.
Oh my gosh,
so satisfying.
So right now, just speaking on this, they're searching for the person who did it, but there's a duck pond like near my house. It's like a community duck pond where all these ducks live, and like people go and feed them, whatever, you know. Apparently, somebody plowed through like every single one. Like they're all dead. Like they were standing
on their boat.
No. This pond is small. They were on the street. This guy never slowed down and just plowed through. He killed like
with his car. He
killed like 55 ducks. Some of them were like federal waterfowl, like Canadian geese. Some of them were Canadian geese. There was like some wood ducks. Like,
wasn't slowing down.
No, they never slowed down. They have the video of him like just plowing.
They have a video.
Yeah, they have a video, but they can't figure out his license plate number, and so they're trying to figure out who this person is. And the dude is wanted on federal charges because he killed like 8 federally protected waterfowl species. I mean, just never slowed down, just like right through him.
I really want to see that, but like, I mean, just look for the dang car that's got 1,000 feathers all over it.
I'm saying.
Oh, and little dents all over the front bumper. Yeah,
Was
just
it like
little,
ducks or
little head
geese?
dents.
It was
a little
ducks.
bit of mix.
It was both. Like he just everything mixed in. I mean, he just killed them all. No discrimination.
Good for him.
And I am
Stand
not
your
proud to the duck crossing.
What are you in for?
What did you do? Well,
I was sick of slowing down for these ducks, so one day I hit the gas hard.
I said, "F it, they're all dead. I'm killing them all."
Oh, that's incredible.
He was probably attacked by a duck as a kid.
Yes, just
Or
like
a goose, a big Canadian goose, and he was like, "Next time I see one of them things."
something just snapped
Yeah.
him. He was sitting there. It was dark.
Dude, them things are evil.
Oh man, I can't tell you how many like geese and especially geese, like when they have the little babies walking around. Back when I lived in Lockport and I'd fish the Erie Canal all the time, they would literally come out of the woodwork and chase you from like 500 feet away. They would walk towards you and chase you away, like as you're standing there fishing. I'm like,
No, so it's not so much the geese I'm worried about. It's them swans fishing out of a kayak, dude.
Oh yeah, those swans will get you too. They won't move for worth a lick either. Like they're coming at you.
I just picture this dude like driving down the road towards these geese, and like Caleb's like he's been attacked as a kid, and like Vietnam flashback, Creedence Clearwater song comes on, it just plows through. You see those videos of guys they post like when they're having a Vietnam flashback, and it's like the faded like helicopters in the background.
Yeah.
Just plows through.
Just wing beats. Just.
Oh my
They're all
god!
dead tonight. Tony, what happened? I just saw blood.
You probably yelled.
Well, look, maybe he was just being patriotic, man. If there's Canadian geese in there, he's like, well, there's going to be some, casualties of innocence, but we got to do it.
We just got to take them all out. It's America.
Oh,
These
God.
aren't American geese. These are Canadian geese. Judge told me I was going to prison for life. I said, it's red, white, and blue, son.
Yeah, right. And all the like the ducks that are in there with the geese, they're hanging out with communists, man.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. They're traitors at this point.
Oh, God. That's amazing. Well, so Rudd, we'll go to you next because I know you actually have another show to go to later tonight. But what's on top of your mind for kind of some scary crap that you've seen?
So first thing, I do have to say this: my uncle actually got hit in the chest by a bat. So going back to flying creatures hitting you while you're running down the lake.
Oh! I thought you meant like a baseball bat. I was like,
No.
wow.
Like a little bat. So it's kind of spooky. It goes with the season, right? No, him
All right.
and I were fishing a night tournament, running down the lake, bat square to the chest. It killed it, obviously, but he had a bruise like the shape of a bat on his chest. So he was
Legit Batman.
Yeah,
He is
I've
now
gotten hit by,
that's
like,
where
3
Batman
bats
came
now,
from. It.
yeah. He's not cool enough to be like Batman. He was more like I'm Batman. But anyway, so scary story, spooky story. This is actually not my story. This story was relayed to me by my dad. And I have to like preface this whole entire story by saying, and Caleb, my dad is like a hard ass. Like he doesn't believe in the paranormal. He doesn't believe in like anything like that. Like it's hard to spook this man. Like he's lived a rough life. And like just is unspookable. You know what I mean? He's just not a guy to get spooked. But every time he tells me this story, honestly, he gets chills. And so it's just it's one of those weird kind of stories that it freaks him out really, really bad. And so what was happening is one night him and a friend of his were fishing a night tournament on a lake near the house called Norris. Now you got to imagine certain parts of Norris Lake are that kind of dark where you like if you were to shut off all the lights, you're not going to see your hand in front of your face. And then when you get back in the middle of these valleys, way back in these pockets, it's even darker because you can't even see the night sky. I mean, everything's, covered up with woods and leaves. I mean, straight up cliffs.
Highland Reservoir, steep side.
Yeah. Like, 45-degree angle all the way to the top of a ridge kind of deal. So him and his buddy are fishing in the back of this pocket, fishing this spring, and they're using black light so they can see their line. And Dad says they're fishing. The frogs are doing their thing. Just kind of everything's moving around. The woods are alive because it's the middle of the summer at night. So there's a lot of movement. He said all of a sudden it just goes nothing, like totally quiet. And said he looked over at his buddy and he was like, "Does it get really quiet out here?" And he said, "Yeah, it did." And they didn't think nothing about it, so they kept fishing. Well, then Dad said he kind of like, I don't know, I guess years you spend in the woods, and people that spend time in the woods will know this. When something's around you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You get that sixth sense.
You get that. Yeah. I mean, it's like I've had deer walk up on me, and before I ever see him, it's like, hey, I know there's a deer here with me in this vicinity. So he looks up in the woods and he said, standing next to a tree, and I've seen the tree that he's talking about. Like, this is a big ass tree. Standing next to this tree is just this giant white figure. And he's just standing there. And my dad says he looks up, and the first thing that comes to his mind is some dude is just like screwing with him because it's like 2:00 in the morning in the middle of nowhere. The nearest house is probably 25, 30 miles away. And he's thinking to himself, coon hunter, somebody's jacking with me. And so he, hey, get the fuck out of here, or something like that. Get out of here, quit messing with us. He said, and it just stands there. And he's like, what in the world? Like, what's going on? And well, finally, he kind of got really pissed off, and him and his buddy both just, hey, get out of here. Dad says that whatever this thing was literally cleared out the woods, like moved so fast that you couldn't even imagine. He said it just sounded like somebody was ripping tree limbs down, pushing stuff out of the way, breaking stuff, and just cleared out the entire woods. He said he looked at his buddy looked at him, and they were both like, what? Like, what the hell is this, right? So they sit down, they get out of that pocket because it freaked them out that bad. Well, a couple years later, you guys probably know, anybody that listens to me knows I'm kind of into Bigfoot. And so I'm listening to this podcast, and there is an account from the same year that my dad had his sighting, that we'll say, of a large, grayish, humanoid creature with hair all over it in like around the same area that my dad saw this thing that he saw, and it was like near Norris Lake. And so these are two totally, like, my dad doesn't know this lady, and this lady literally emailed into this like Bigfoot podcast and told the same exact story my dad told. That there was this creature standing in the woods that when she yelled at it, it ran away, and it sounded like it was tearing the whole woods down. So I don't know. You tell me.
Well,
like,
Alex, you remember Chris Summerall, when you were telling that story and you said there was something weird about Bigfoot, and Chris immediately said he was white.
Yes.
Remember, Chris had the same thing. When he was younger, they were camping way on the backside of Signal Mountain over there, like Prentice Cooper. It's part of a national forest, just big, super rugged area with all these cliffs and caves and stuff. And he was over there on the edge of it. There was a family farm. They were camping out over there, and he turned, they had a campfire going. He looks down towards the woods there, and he sees something peeking out from behind a tree. And he thought it was a horse, like the neck and head of a horse, like looking at him, because there was a farm around there, And he thinking it looks strange, and then it walks out where they can actually see it. It's the same thing you described. It's just standing there looking at them. They're looking at each other, not knowing what the heck to do.
Yep. It's crazy, dude. I mean, I don't know. It's just weird. The story for years, like I just thought, I believe that there was a Bigfoot-like creature that lived at one time. I mean, we have, archaeological records that there's something like that lived in the Pacific Northwest. But like, I never thought that like the story was, I don't know. I believed my dad, but all at the same time, it's like there's a logical explanation until it's corroborated with this story by this lady that he doesn't know on this Bigfoot podcast. And then Chris starts talking about it. And then I start kind of digging into it.
Before you could even say it.
Yes.
He says it like as you're about to say it. I was like, I got chills. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. And it's like the one consistency with like Sasquatch around here or Bigfoot or whatever you want to call it is he's like this grayish white color, which makes
I think y'all are getting confused with the Yeti.
Yeah, we might have a Southern Yeti down here.
He's got a rogue Yeti down there.
He's got one rogue Yeti.
He's retired. He went south.
That's right.
It's a snowbird now.
Yeah, he got done making those coolers and headed south, But it's like it makes sense because if you look at the woods around here, they're very gray. Like deer around here are very gray. Like all, squirrels are very gray. And like gray things blend in with the woods around here. So I don't know. Weird story. It's one of those that, like, again, my dad is not one to just like make up weird, crazy things, and he doesn't believe in any of that stuff. But that's the one that every time he tells it, honestly, grown man like gets cold chills when he tells the story. Like it freaked him out that bad.
Dude, I can't say whether or not I believe in it, but I love that Bigfoot TV show.
That sucks. I hate that. It makes everybody that believes in him look like an idiot.
I just thought it was hilarious. But like, it was kind of interesting though. Like, it was kind of freaky. Like, have you ever been out in like the pitch dark, and like it's super, like you're talking about that super quiet where nothing's happening, and you just start talking, and you feel like you're really loud, and it almost makes yourself like you make your own hair stand up on the back of your neck just because it's that quiet, that dark.
I will tell you, one of the scariest things that ever happened to me is I was in the woods in the dark after I got done deer hunting, and two bobcats started going at it.
Oh, dude!
Boys, let me tell you something. I didn't know what it was. I'd never heard it before. I literally called my dad. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna die out here. And he's like, what does it sound like? Like a woman being beat to death. He's like, oh, it's just two bobcats going at it. I mean, dude, like, it's like 50 yards away, and they're just like, oh my God. That's it. I was like, all I have is a bow and a knife, and I can't fight anybody. I'm dead. I can't fight this demon. What is this woods demon?
No, man, those bobcats will mess you up, though.
Dude,
they're a little mean dog dudes.
Oh, Lord. I mean, but yeah, when them things started screaming at, I mean, honestly, if you've never heard one, it literally, it sounds like a woman being murdered. Like,
sounded like
absolutely.
It's weird. It's creepy being out there and having that happen.
Yeah. So, but that's my story. So that's what I got for you guys.
I like it.
Sasquatch stories. It had to come up somewhere tonight.
Oh, I'm telling you, every single time. If I'm involved, there's a big.
I wish I had a Sasquatch story. I haven't seen.
Caleb, you've got a crazy story though about the lights.
I've got multiple weird stories.
Yeah, let's go with your first
actually,
one.
I don't know if I've told Alex this one yet, but one of them actually occurred with me and Anthony Mondo. He's a kid from California, and we were out. I took him out on his like first night fishing tournament, and we're fishing. And I start telling, I'm like, hey, when we get up to 60 Bridge, you're gonna start seeing some stuff. Like weird stuff's gonna happen. He's like, oh, you're full of it, And so we get up there. We're fishing right below 60. Alex knows what I'm talking about over at A-Slingers, like a grass line right there catching fish. And all of a sudden, this bullet, there's another guy from our tournament, starts running downriver from Hiwassee area, doing about 80 mile an hour with his lights on and stuff. And he gets through the bridge, and I'm just not paying attention. All of a sudden, he just, with that, built motor comes off plane, that old two-stroke, so it's so loud, and just completely drops it off plane and stops it. And I turn around, and about 200 yards, maybe 250 yards across the lake, it looks like one all-around light, like an anchor light sitting over there. But then I get to looking at it, and then I'm like, it's a spotlight. It's somebody on the bank with a spotlight shining it out towards that boat, and that's why he stopped. He's trying to figure out why they're shining with the light. And he doesn't say anything, and I'm sitting there looking at it, and all of a sudden, I realize that it's out, way off the bank, like 50, 60, 70 yards off the bank on this flat over there. And it's going along, and it goes under the water, and you could see it glowing under the water. And it goes about 10 feet like that, pops back up, starts going again, under the water, comes back up. And Anthony's like, "Are you seeing this?" I'm like, "Yep." And all of a sudden it starts shooting like back and forth like that and just gone, like instant.
Out of the air?
And
Or what do you mean gone?
Anthony actually videoed the last part of it, and you can see it like go underwater and then act crazy and take off. But it was ridiculous.
You have video proof of this?
Yeah, he's got a video. It's hard to see because you're on a phone camera 250 yards across the lake, but you can see this light go crazy. It looks like somebody would have to like do it on.
And what's
photos.
weird is it only happens on that part of the lake. Like
Yeah.
that whole
Always
area,
has.
that whole area, Bailey, that me and you fished during the Hobie, like that's the area of the lake that it always happens. And like Hiwassee and all that right there, Hawassee's a freaky place. Like
Dude.
it's weird, man. There's all kind of weird crap up in there, and I don't
That's
know
my
why.
next story, dude, is like, because I've seen some weird stuff. People that don't understand what Hiwassee is, it's a wildlife refuge, and it's a bird refuge specifically for migratory birds. But before the lake was flooded, that was the confluence of the Hiwassee River and the old Chickamauga River, right? So you had this delta here with multiple creek channels and stuff that still exist. And so there was a big Cherokee Indian settlement right there. And then after they were gone in the Civil War, there was a bunch of, rebels and Union soldiers camped in that area because it's the best spot from, travel perspective and stuff. And so they were sitting there, and it's just, the guys go over there, you can find artifacts. Like, we found so many arrowheads and spearheads and stuff like that. It's a neat place to go in the day. But let me tell you, you start going over there at night, and it gets weird. And so that's my next story. So I'm sitting there because I'm Caleb C. Basquez and I'm a dummy. I go out there. It was last March, and I go out night fishing. It's 30 degrees outside. And I'm like, I want to go out here and see if these fish will eat a jig, because I knew right where a lot of these big fish were sitting. And I was like, I got to try it and just see, because I've always heard that guys catch real big fish in the wintertime at night. So I was going to give it a shot. And so I'm going out through there and I'm fishing, and I get, Alex knows where I'm talking about, that same bank that you caught that big fish on the Cinco right there.
Mhm.
It's that little rock bank that leads into Ziegler Slough. And I'm fishing down through there. I've got this big lay down coming up. I'm like, I'm going to catch a big one out of here. If anywhere, it's going to be there. And all of a sudden, it was just like you were talking about. The noise in the South at night, it doesn't matter if it's wintertime, summertime, it's deafening.
Mm-hmm.
There's always something going on, crickets, frogs, and stuff like that. And it goes dead slick calm. And what was crazy is there was literally maybe 30 beavers down this stretch, like a bunch of little beavers and big beavers. And they were making all kinds of racket, aggravating me. And like it all went dead at one time, just dead. And all of a sudden I hear something running through the woods. And I'm like, what the heck is that? And these like 7 or 8 deer bust out of the big island there, and they hit the water and just, they don't blow or anything. Swim across there and get to that little island. And I'm like, what in the heck? And then I turn and look up the hill, and there's a light there. And I'm like, is that a light from somebody's house, like a cross? Because there's no structures on Hiwassee Island. But if you're lined up right and you can see all the way to the other side of Hiwassee River, you might see a house light or something. So I see this light. I'm thinking, that's weird. And it's kind of bobbing going through the woods. And I'm thinking, it looks like somebody's got a big flashlight, shining it towards you, just directly at you walking through the woods. And I start getting chills going down the back of my neck. I'm like, it just doesn't feel right. And it's not making any noise. And it's closing the distance. It's like 60 yards. And those deer just came from there. And they made all kinds of racket. This thing's not making a sound. And I'm like, this is getting freaky, And so it just keeps coming. And as it gets closer, I can see it's a ball. They talk about like paranormal activity, like orbs and stuff. It's literally like a ball of light just floating through there, and it's not even close to the ground. I realize as it goes through, it's about 15 feet off the ground, working along the ridge in between these trees and limbs and stuff, and just goes right on by me, and then goes back over the hill and just disappears. And right after that, boom, everything comes back to life. Beavers swimming around everywhere. The woods are making noise again. It was the freakiest thing. Like that's probably the scariest, because I've seen a bunch of crazy stuff like that. I've seen UFOs and weird lights like what Anthony and I saw, but that was the weirdest, the creepiest one, because just like what happened with your dad, everything went dead still. And that's it. When that happens in the woods, something not natural is about to happen.
It's so weird that oh man, I haven't seen anything paranormal or like stuff like that, but the thing that always gets me on like what I believe in, it's like all this stuff happens at night, you know what I mean? And it's so hard to see, and like it's hard to like, I don't know, like I struggle with all the things that happen at night versus like, when is this stuff ever seen in the daytime? Like does it
Exactly.
like, you know what I mean? Like that's the part that I like can't wrap my head around.
I've always personally thought that it was just military stuff, like they're testing from Oak Ridge and stuff. Because, for years, you talk to some of the old heads around here that fish night tournaments that used to win every night tournament on Watts Bar or Chickamauga, and they all tell the same stories about, fishing over here in the 80s and seeing UFOs at night and silhouettes of what they thought were spacecraft, and it turns out they were those the Firebird, the stealth jets.
Oh, yeah.
Like they're like, that's exactly what we were seeing, but it was 30 years before that we even knew they existed. So I always just assume that it's some kind of weird, since we're so close, and it just happens here more than I've talked to people all over the country, and nobody has stories like that. I think it's just random stuff that we won't know about for 30 years that they're testing.
Well, I mean,
by the way, we have these glowing balls that fly around.
Well, listen, they turned on that Hadron. It's not. I thought it was hydrogen. I was wrong. It's Hadron, Hadron collider in Oak Ridge. So Baxter and Oak Ridge, quick. Oak Ridge is where they developed part of the nuclear bomb that it's where they figured out nuclear fission to make the bomb that they dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. A lot of people don't know that. Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Anyway, now there's no telling what they do out there. It's probably still weapons manufacturing for the most part, because they have trillions of dollars that go in and out of that place. But anyway, they turned on the Hadron Collider, which is some kind of, best way I can explain it, they are shooting neutrons at a wall at varying speeds to try to open up a portal to another dimension.
Sounds like a great idea.
Like, that is straight out of Stephen King, if I've ever heard anything. But that's like literally what they're doing. You can literally Google it, and they're like, oh, yeah, we're trying to prove the existence of another dimension by shooting neutrons at some kind of wall.
That's great. Can you do that somewhere else, please?
No, can you not do that in my backyard, please? Can we not rip a hole?
Go do that in California. Just get over there. Like, that'll be fine.
But yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I mean, like during the day, I've never seen anything, but I have been walking through the woods and like walked into a place and been like, and turn around and walk back out of it. Especially around here, there's something about, especially in any kind of association with like Native Americans.
Yep.
Any kind of Native American burial ground or anything Native American, dude, like literally be walking through the woods, take a step, and it's like you step into the wrong spot.
It feels heavy. It's like the whole air and everything. It's just, it's weird, like an oppressive feeling.
So, Caleb, did you keep fishing after you saw it?
Absolutely, but I did move spots. I moved closer to Dayton so I could see some lights from houses. I was like, at least I'm in earshot. If I start screaming bloody murder, I might have a chance, you know. But yeah, that's the only time I've ever been scared enough to leave. Alex knows, you know, my back in the day, you know, fishing with coal and stuff like that. Like, I've been out in the summertime. I've been out when 2 tornadoes have gone through Tennessee Valley. I've been out in lightning storms so bad that you can throw a football jig on 25-pound fluorocarbon and the line would sink or float off the water in half. And like your rod would be vibrating, and if you raise it up, it starts sparking and popping. Pow, pow, pow.
Yeah, me and Caleb have both done some very stupid things.
Yes.
Don't be like us.
That's when you see weird stuff. Is like when you're, that's the first and only time that I've gone out that early night fishing, and I was the only boat on the water, and that's when you start seeing weird stuff like that.
Seems legit. Keep casting. I like that.
That's exactly right.
Just keep on going.
I didn't know what to do. That was the weirdest one for sure for me. 'Cause I've seen a bunch of probably like visually seen stranger stuff, but that one's just like the one that sticks with me the most.
I don't know what I'd do if I experienced something like that. I probably think I'm like with Aaron Rodgers on his mushroom trip or something like that.
Honestly, you'd probably be like I am. It's just like you're calm about it and like, it is what it is. It's happening right before your eyes. You're
That's
not
what it is. That you sit back and you go, well, shit, that just happened. All right.
Ain't nobody gonna believe this story.
You're like, that's exactly right.
You're just like,
Like, that's
here we
Carry
go.
on.
And it's something that just happened. And there's not as much of a stigma around here because anyone who night fishes on Watts Bar Lake or Chickamauga Lake or Loudon Lake has a story about that the exact same thing.
I do. Yeah.
Look, to be fair though, there's a lot of weird things that go down in them Tennessee hills that none of us from anywhere else know about.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, that's from a national security perspective. That's probably why they do all that testing for other dimensions here, because they know if something gets out, you got all these crazy ass rednecks that shoot it down before it could do any damage.
You see, and that right there is why I've got issues with Bigfoot, because some crazy hillbilly would have done shot one.
I would have shot one. If one was to roll up on me on the woods, I'm going to be like, yo, are you a person? You got one chance, bro. You better say something. I'm talking really at
270 to the dome.
Anyways, I started
You're getting Chewbacca noises, and you're like, he's down.
You don't know, that might be like a doe and estrus call. You don't want to do that.
In our day and age, though, you'd shoot that Bigfoot, and then there'd be like riots in California.
California, New
York. If it was
York.
a person in the suit, you'd be better off than if it was an actual Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if it went. Yeah, we won't get into that.
Imagine the ramifications if you actually killed one. Not just like, okay, you would be famous, but then you go like, you have to totally restructure the way that you think about the woods at that point. Like you have to totally restructure like everything about everything, because it's like now it's like, oh, these things are actually real. Like these are as real as elk and deer. Like we've got to figure this crap out. Like where are more of these? Like it would blow everything up. Like it would be crazy.
Yeah, it'd definitely be a buddy system from now on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First ever captured Bigfoot, and some redneck blew its head off.
Yeah. Hey, there is no hunting season. You can't get arrested.
Yeah.
For it.
Right, hey.
Like, well, heck, boys, they were real. I got the last one.
What was it? It was one of the states. It was either Alaska or Washington that established like a big, like if you see one, you can't kill it. Like they actually wrote a legitimate law that was voted through their state constitution that said like.
That sounds like Washington.
I think it was
Alaska. Alaska would be free game. Just kill it. But
Well, no, there's like it's like I think it's Oklahoma or somewhere like that. They actually sell Bigfoot hunting licenses.
I love it.
That's a great idea to raise money for
Yes, it
your
is.
conservation of your
Yeah.
state. That's
It
fantastic.
is.
A bunch of idiots or people are like, yeah, I definitely want to just say I could pull out my wallet and my Bigfoot hunting license.
Yes.
People just want to wave them around at the bar.
I
No,
kinda
Here's
wanna
the question
get it
though:
out of
if you
state.
get one, do you do a body mount or a shoulder mount?
I'm not gonna lie.
Full body mount.
Full body
Head
mount,
to toe, yeah. Head to toe.
Or do you do like a bearskin rug?
Oh, that's a good one too. Just
No.
I think there's a
You
You
point
just
where-
stack it on like a corner of a
You know?
wall. So when you walk downstairs and you turn right before you.
Yeah, I
turn
wanted
lights on,
to
you
stare at me
everyone.
when I go around the corner of the house every time.
Oh,
God.
I got you.
all right, boys. Hey,
News.
I'm out. Appreciate
Yo.
you. I'll see
Thank
you
you,
later.
buddy.
Rod.
Hey, Rob, thanks for coming, man.
Absolutely.
See ya.
See you.
All right, Deacon, you're up, buddy. What have you seen out there in old
Oh.
Colorado?
Oh man, I guess I've got two from a scary perspective. One was weather related. I mean, we've all probably, especially you northern folks, have been in some crazy rough water, and that's common. Like, man, it's hard to like actually sink a boat. That definitely is always a scary thing to think about, but got to know what you're doing. But I was fishing a college tournament on Rayburn early in the year, and coldest I've ever been. I mean, dude, it gets to -30 here, you know, and it was like 25 or something degrees in Rayburn, humidity, Texas. It was the day before this college tournament in February, big cold front in early February, and it was blowing. And got to the ramp, poured coffee down into the drain plug because the drain plug had ice in it. Couldn't get the drain plug in. Jump on the lake like an idiot. There's like 20 boats sitting there, and no one's jumping on. I'm like, well, come on, it's not that bad. We'll jump on, no big deal, dude. I come out of this cove onto the main lake, and I do one turn into a wave, and like it was big on the main. And like, of course, like in the cove, you know, I'm just running. I'm like, oh, it's fine. It's not that bad. And then I just turned, and it was like, oh my gosh. And this wave came over, dude. Came over the bow. I literally did a 180, turned right back into the cove. Entire front deck froze instantly. Like it was that cold out that like the front deck froze from that wave coming in. And I was like, now I see why everyone else didn't put it on. I guess I'm going to go back to the trailer. So that was like oh wow, like this is that like someone could die out here. Like hypothermia is real. Like this is cold.
That's one where you're just like, yeah, I'll take the donation. I'm good. I'll choose life.
Exactly. But this one's like crazy, and this is legit. So I had fished a tournament here in Colorado, and it was in the springtime, and I was fishing in a cove, and there was a point, and another tournament angler around the other side of the cove. It's like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. Like we had just taken off, and we're fishing. We've got 2 goons in the box. We're like, all right, we're doing all right. Like, let's keep this going. And we hear this like bang, and then like screaming. I was like, dude, that was a gunshot. 100%. Like that was a gunshot we just heard. And you hear this guy like yelling. I'm like, dude, I think someone just got shot on that hill, like 6 a.m. Like, and my tournament partner and I are just like, well, like, okay, like let's kind of assess the situation. I think like someone maybe had an accident with a gun. Like I'm thinking like, okay, I've seen guys dog train up on that hill. Like maybe someone was training dogs this morning and something happened, but it's the springtime. It's not hunting season. So we beach the boat, we run up the hill, and the other team fishing on the other side of the point, we heard them take off on their boat through no wake zone, ripping up. They get it off pad. They're running up the hill yelling. We run up the hill yelling, and a guy had tried to commit suicide on the top of this ridge, and yeah, so it was a mess, and called 911. Ran up to the nearest road. Fire truck met us there. Paramedics walked back in, and they're like, man, you know, if we have to, like, as we were walking in here, so when we walked up, the other team had gotten there first, and the dude had kicked the pistol out of the guy's hand. Like he was trying to rack another one, and stabilized him. And my other partner stayed with him, and I ran up the hill, went to the fire truck, walked with the paramedics, and they're like, oh man, like we may have to back out of this. Like if it's a dangerous situation, like, oh no, the gun's away from him and there's 3 people with him. But they life flighted in there right off of the point. And like, he just was like crazy, man. I mean, like, and then it got to me thinking, like, in those situations, you know, if we had heard more gunshots or something, it's like, I'm not running up that hill. Like, you don't know what's going on in that situation. So it's just be safe out there. I guess the biggest piece of advice. And I don't know, I conceal carry, especially on boats and stuff. You never know what's going to happen out there. And like, just was wild. I think it was just an early morning thing. Someone wanted to maybe like look over the water. But I really do think the guy made it just based on where the gunshot wound was and stuff. But it was pretty gnarly scene. You don't expect to see that happen while you're fishing. We ended up having to fill out police reports and stuff, and then we ended up taking 3rd in the tournament. Went back to fishing, and it was good to go. But I was impressed with how calm that we had stayed, and especially my team partner. Like, I was like, this dude should be a freaking paramedic. Like, he's like, here, let's wrap your face in a towel. Like, let's figure this out. I'm just like, wow, this is a real life situation.
That's
wild.
That's nuts.
I mean, that's the creepiest thing that I've seen, or like, and it's like, it was, yeah, this is
That's
real.
something that'll stick with you.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
that's exactly right.
Good God.
Yeah, that's not fun to see.
No, that is definitely not fun at all.
No, but that's my craziest, scariest story.
Yeah. So I'll go next year just for the pure fact. I don't have anything like insane, but if anyone's like me that they are absolutely petrified of spiders, this story's for you.
Yeah, let's lighten the mood a little bit. Let's go ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
So living in New York my entire life, we don't exactly. I mean, we have spiders, but like, we don't have like your guys' spiders down south in Louisiana, Tennessee type spiders.
Yeah.
And I go south for the first time a couple years back for the first Bassmaster Kayak Championship down in Texas on Bosque Kingdom.
Yeah.
And they didn't have any rules against like getting out on the water too early or being on the water too late, as long as within like, I think it was like Monday to Wednesday at some point in time. So I was like, well, I'm going to be, I'm going to bust my butt, get up 2 hours early, get graphing in type stuff because it looked calm. I was trying to fish offshore. So being a dummy, I get up and I get on the water like an hour and a half before sunrise. And these pop-up storms, I've never seen them in Texas. We don't have these up north. Like, if we have storms coming, like, you're going to know about it in time. Like, they're coming. Usually more because I have my own meteorologist and Andy, and he tells me like weeks before they happen. But like Texas, like they just come out of nowhere. And that's one of the craziest things that I experienced with that. And I'm like in the middle of this lake trying to go across to go where I wanted to go graph. And this thing comes out of nowhere. I'm talking like 50-mile-an-hour winds. And remember, I'm in a freaking kayak.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the scary part. Like,
yeah. And it's like pitch black, can't see anything. There's like lightning, thunder. And like that part was kind of scary. But honestly, I wasn't like too worried because like I was like, as long as I can get to the bank, I'll be fine. I'll just go. The plan was to go find a dock that I could go under with the kayak. And I'll just wait it out. Like, I was dumb. I can go, wait this out type of deal. And I get under. I made it to the other side. I get across this dock. And I'm sitting there for a while. And I'm just like kind of sitting there on my phone, holding on to the dock. And like, I didn't think through my head that docks. And I chose a wooden dock. And I'm like, the phone light on the light on my phone's glowing. So obviously attracting some bugs. And dude, out of like the cliche made me freak out, almost like the closest I've ever been to like jumping off the kayak. Like the phone light lights up and I just see one coming right down towards my phone in front of me. I freaked. I was so lucky that I threw it, but I was so lucky that it went to my front deck of my kayak and didn't go overboard. But I literally wish it was one of those things I had a GoPro because it would have been a hilarious clip. But like straight up silhouette, watch it come down like in front of my hat brim and just bugged out. I went and sat there and like I just didn't even like want to sit next to a dock. I just basically tried to stay in place against the wind in the kayak for like another 45 minutes.
Position in the Hobie.
Basically, yeah. And I thought I pooped myself. But yeah, that was I'm petrified of spiders. Like I'll kill the little ones around here. Like that's no big deal. Like those big ones down there, man. Like when they're half the size of your hand, hell no.
They make a mess when you squish them.
Yeah, no thanks. That's mine. Andy, you're the last one.
Oh man, I don't really have any like crazy light stories or suicide attempts or like mine is all like weather related on Lake Erie. But like one of the creepiest things that I've ever experienced on Lake Erie is Buffalo is a major shipping port, and it was a spring day a couple years ago, and I'm out there in the middle of the lake, sun's rising, no fog, but it's dead calm, and it's supposed to be like 80 degrees that day with no wind. And we got like such a thick rolling fog that came in that was bright blue, sunny skies, but fog that you couldn't even see like your rod tip in front of you. So thick.
Yeah.
And we have the big shipping freighters coming down the lake, just railing on their foghorn signal that you learned about in your captain's class.
Exactly.
And you're like, I have no idea how close or far these boats are because we have Buffalo and Port Colborne, which is like 20 miles away. So like for 5 hours straight, you just heard foghorns going off on the lake when you can't see anything or heat. Like all you hear is foghorns, boats running all around, and you can't see the rod tip that's 7 feet in front of you because the fog is so thick. And I'm like, I'm not running in because I'm gonna hit something. So I just wait, and you would get, as you would run in, you would get like sun pure clear, and you'd be like in between walls of fog. So it'd be like bright sunny, and all of a sudden you'd get back in the fog. You'd be soaking wet because it was so dense. It was like those big clouds just right on top of the water. It was absolutely terrifying. I think I ran in at like 12 miles an hour because you just couldn't see anything.
I hate fog, dude. It's the scariest thing.
Especially when you're 13 miles.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like when it's a 250 boat tournament, there's like, and you're like, okay, do I slow down or is the guy behind me going to run me over? Like, what do I do? Like,
you don't know what to do. It's just like, I just get out of the way. I'm like, I'll find a flat somewhere and guard myself with some shell beds. I'm like, all right, if you want to try to get him over here, you're going to have to run over a 1-foot shell bed.
And that's the biggest thing. Like, we're like 3 miles offshore, 2.5, 3 miles offshore, and 13 miles from port. Like, we are down the lake. Somebody's going to hit us. And you'd hear boats just screaming by. You're like, please don't hit me. Please don't hit me.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like, what I try and do if it's a tournament blast off, and because it seems to always like be a creek or something that's like blowing that fog out, and then like you get through it. But what I do is first of all, I slow down. But if there's a boat in front of me, that's the best situation because I'll just slowly follow that boat through because I'm like, well, if they're going to hit something, I'm going to see him hit something. Yeah. I'm going to turn off.
Sorry, buddy.
I mean, and like obviously graphs and stuff. I'm not saying hit like the bank. I'm saying like another vessel, but like, man, scary stuff for sure.
I hate fog.
I'll tell you, one of the weird things about fog, I remember one time I put in at Bailey's been into Sail Creek. It's got those turns going in and out of it. It's got that one big bay. Well, I put it on the ramp there, and I've been fishing there since I was a kid. Like, I know that like the back of my hand, and it was foggy. Yeah. And so I got on my GPS map, and I set a course. I'm like, okay, that's the mouth of the little creek channel that leads out of the creek to the main channel. And so I start heading over there, and I think that I'm going straight. Like, I'm steering directly on that heading. And all of a sudden, I look at the GPS. I'd been going for 5 minutes or so I knew idling, So I thought, well, I've got to be getting pretty close to the creek channel. I looked down, and I had made a huge loop almost all the way back around to where I'd started. Yeah. And I'm sitting there with the steering wheel. But we learned that in C school, how it's like if you got a right-handed prop, how it'll automatically make the boat steer to one side a little bit, favor one side. Yeah. And so that was what had happened. And I just had no idea, but it felt like I was going straight. You just couldn't see any kind of reference. I'm like, holy crap, I'm about to run back into the boat ramp.
You get so disorientated when it's so foggy like that. You don't know where you are.
No,
we don't exactly have to deal with that, Forrest and I, from a kayak standpoint, besides just not getting hit.
Yeah, stay close to the bank and you ain't gonna worry about nothing then.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I would do. If I was in a kayak and it got foggy like that, I'd put my butt on the bank and start just fishing out.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Like hiding as many freaking brush piles and stuff as you can. Just start flipping brush right in front of you.
Well, if it's hiding behind brush piles, apparently Lake Dardanelle has spiders on every single one, so I'm out on that
one. Bailey's like, I'll just choose death out in the middle of the channel.
I'll play.
Well, no, the first time Bailey went down south, he called me. He's like, hey, what do I have to worry about sleeping on the ground down here?
Dude, I literally didn't. When I was going down to Eufaula, I was sleeping in a tent. So I literally call Forrest. I call my buddy Zach from the south. I called a few buddies that like live in Louisiana and stuff. And I'm like, look, I'm tenting this one up. What do I need? Because I've never camped down south before. And basically, the consensus was that you should be packing, but it's not for any creatures. It's for people. I was like, oh, dude, great.
No, if you get those spiders big enough, you got to pack a little 22 pistol with short subsonic, so you can sit there and shoot the 3-foot diameter spiders that are trying to get in the tent.
Good God. No thanks.
Pretty
Man,
much it.
people scare me more than any. Like,
Yeah.
it'd be in the Elkwoods here, man, in Colorado, and like, I mean, there's mountain lions and black bears and stuff, and it's like, man, if I'm in archery season, I'm carrying a 45, but it's not really for animals, man. It's like you never know.
There's some weird people,
out there, man.
especially over here in Appalachia, dude. We've got literal mountain men still running around. Guys, ginseng hunters and stuff like that they'll trespass on your property. I had a buddy of mine. He was at a family property last year and out on the ATV, just kind of running, checking trail cameras and stuff. And this guy pops out of the wood. You know, he's got his little knee pads and all his tools for digging ginseng roots. And Brant's like, hey, you know, you got to get off the property. It's owned now. It's private property. He's like, I've been hunting ginseng here since I was a kid. And my father before me is like, I'm not going anywhere. And Brant's like, well, I mean, I'll call the police if I have to. And the guy says, literally sits there and says, or maybe I'll just kill you right now with this shovel.
Oh my God.
And Brant reaches around and gets the AR-15, puts it on the front of the ATV, and he's like, get out of here now.
Damn. You want to rethink that one.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's how crazy people are. I remember being a kid up on a deer hunting lease, and we were at a public land hunt on this property up on Flat Top Mountain. It's super rural out there. And this one guy gets drunk at the campfire. Like he shows up and he knows somebody, but we don't know who he is. And he gets and starts talking, and he tells a story about right there about how his dad had shot his brother, and he helped his dad bury his brother right here on this side of the property. He showed us where the grave was and stuff. And I was just like,
I'm out.
weird stuff, man.
What?
That's stuff that, like, and you know, people just get away with it. His dad was all dead and gone already. He's like this old man. He's just starts telling stories that are on his mind about stuff like that. But that's literally, it's the Wild West out here.
That's
Good
crazy, dude.
God.
You're backwoods, Appalachia. Like if you go outside the wrong city limit somewhere, you never know what and who you're gonna come into contact with.
Good. Yeah, Tennessee
Yes.
is kind of like its own country. Like COVID didn't exist. It didn't happen down there.
Yeah.
It wasn't a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Y'all just do your.
It was a figment of my imagination that I got it 3 times.
That's right. Yeah. Forrest, what about you? Got any of the other wild stories?
Not so much like wild, like scary, weird stuff happening, but so my grandpa used to have a 17-foot express boat, and if you know anything about an express boat, they say they're guaranteed not to sink
Yeah.
because they're so foam filled.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I decided to test that theory one day, but not of my own will, my own stupid will, maybe. So we always fished the Toledo Bend, or the Louisiana side of Toledo Bend.
Mm-hmm.
So it was me, my cousin, a couple of my cousins. There's probably like 3 or 4 of us in the boat. And the weather was no bueno. It was probably blowing 20, 25 starting out. And we decided we want to go crappie fishing on the Toledo Bend, or the Texas side of the Toledo Bend. And the north end of that lake is just loaded with stumps and boat lanes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got to know what you're doing out there. So before we left, I put gas in the boat, and we hauled butt across the lake. And it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. I'm like, all right, we got to go. And all of a sudden, right before I said that, I looked down. I'm like, there's water in here. And I don't know what had happened, but I got to looking. The bilge pump quit working, so the water that was coming over kept staying in there.
Oh,
I tried to
no.
start the boat, won't start. I go look in the back. I forgot to close the gas cap, so water done filled the come in the fuel tank too. So we're sitting here on the complete other side of this lake, and it just rolling. So end up 3 of us. It was 2 of my cousins and my aunt. So we all jump out of the boat just to get weight out of it and let my aunt stay in there to help keep it up. So we're holding on to the boat in these rollers, and there's hardly any service on that lake at all. And we end up getting hold of a guy we know, and he comes over, and dude, it was the sketchiest tow back in my life. Because, like, at that point, you know, we still pretty much held on to the side of the boat for the whole tow back just to try to keep as much weight out of it as we could.
That's insane.
Jeez.
Like, you literally were getting towed, like, while you're just in the water holding on to the
Yeah.
boat. I mean, that's one way to...
At night.
No, it wasn't at night, thank God.
That would be way better though.
Yeah, you should have that.
Just
I
adds
wanted to
another
believe.
level of suspense. And then Billy let go of the boat. And we never saw Billy again.
Yeah.
Legend has it he's still holding on to all that timber in the middle of the
Well,
Yeah.
well, funny story about holding on to the timber.
Oh, boy.
So we went fishing with another dude we knew, and this dude, he ain't quite right in the head. He's done had a couple car wrecks. He loves his pills and his booze. And we're all out here. We're all drinking too, and we're running catfish lines, drinking, having a good time, and we're just putting through the stumps. My cousin, he's sitting there on the side of the boat, and he's just this big, tall, lanky fella. He's sitting there. Ain't none of us got a life jacket on. He just leans back right out the boat and falls out. And granted, he can't swim the best either. And he does this on purpose.
That's a choice.
This dude driving the boat just keeps going.
He's a
We go up around the corner. You know, we're like, all right, this is funny for a second. You know, he's gonna think we're leaving him. It's like, all right, 5 minutes. Like, hey, you know, maybe we should go back and get him. He cannot swim the best. You know, and he's already pretty cocked. And it's like 10 minutes go by. We're like, all right, we need to go back and get him, dude. Like this ain't funny no more. Let's go. And like we finally convinced him to go back and get him. It's probably been 15, 20 minutes at this point.
Oh my gosh.
And we get back and he is hanging onto a freaking stump out there. He can't even climb in the boat. We got to drag him in the boat.
Oh my god.
So we literally almost drowned my damn cousin.
Oh, my
Oh
gosh.
my gosh.
Sheesh.
We
I mean,
we
hey,
pulled him
you
back in the
still
boat. We asked him, we're like, you going to fall out the boat again? He's like, frick, no. But he didn't quite use the frick word. He used a lot more colorful word.
I mean, you said it that it was his decision. I mean,
Yeah, he just decided to fall off the boat. It's like, first of all, do you know the crackhead we're with? Second of all, you know you can't swim that well.
that's funny.
It just sounds like poor life choices at that point.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of those down south.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, I was like, yeah. Oh, that's fun.
It's like you get around and south of the Mason-Dixon line. There's just you can't explain half the things that go on.
Shenanigans is what they are. Shenanigans.
Shenanigans. Whether you survive or die, they're still fun shenanigans.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's literally that's the two choices too. It's like you either made it or you didn't.
yeah. Well, it's
Every
like
day it's
you
just
know
a
how you
series
worried about all the critters down there, right, Bailey?
Yeah.
So on them express boats, you got your console, but there's like a space about that big under the console. Sitting here driving with the hot foot, I feel something. I'm like, what was that? I look down, I just see a snake crawl across my foot.
Woo!
And if
Yep.
you're down south and you see a snake, it's jump first, ask questions later.
Yeah.
Well, the boat's going this way, I'm going up. Like, so I jump straight up and land in the back of the boat because I just seen a snake crawl across my foot. So I literally almost jumped out the boat because it kept going forward and I was going backwards.
Oh my god.
Was it a copperhead?
No, I thought it was a water mox. It turns out it's just a banded water snake.
Yep.
But I didn't know that by just a quick glance. I was just like,
Banded water snake kind of looks like
Oh, it does. Like,
water
unless you're
moccasin
paying
or
attention.
a copperhead or even a timber rattlesnake because it all has all the same colors, just different patterns. So if it's zipping around and you don't really get to see it,
yeah. And then, finally I'm like, all right. I look down there. So, all right, it's just a banded water snake. Reached down there, grabbed him, tossed him out the boat. But man, you talk about a heart attack.
yeah.
I bet, yeah. Good grief.
Mm-mm.
I had a funny thing happen to me one time. I went to my grandfather's house. I was a kid, and he had a couple of these like little V-hole aluminum boats, like two 12-footers sitting there. And he had like a 6 or 9 horsepower Johnson that had with it. And so that was like my bass boat when I was a kid, right? Like 11, 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
So I show up at his house and I kick over the boat, put the trolling motor battery in it, put the gas tank, the outboard and stuff, and start kicking out through there. And I'm sitting there and I kind of, how you just get like a feeling like there's something off about what's going on. I look down and there's like 2 mice sitting right next to my foot. I'm going, what in the heck? And I get to, I stop and start fishing. They take off and they start coming out of, there was like a nest of field mice that had gotten underneath the console parts of the boat. It's got those seats that have foam in it. They had eaten out the old styrofoam in there and had made them a nest over the winter. And so I had a whole posse of mice that hung out with me fishing that day. They just kind of sat in the corner and I sat in my corner and caught fish, and we just agreed to agree. But it was the most bizarre thing looking down and like having 2 mice sitting next to your foot in this old boat.
You guys do you, I'll do me.
Like, hey man, you got any cheese?
Yeah.
I have a crazy story. I just remembered it. I was fishing Cuca Lake probably 8 or 9 years ago. I was going where my buddy had an old Ranger. And right by the console, there's like a little hole in the center. They made it, and a freaking chipmunk came running out while we were on pad, literally hit me in the chest. So we stopped, and the chipmunk ran around the boat twice and jumped in the water. Like, side in the middle of the lake. I was just like, he's like, I can't believe there's a chipmunk in here.
Have you seen that video of who was it this year on MLF, the pro circuit? What's his name? He won like 2. Good gosh. But basically he was in this, I think it was St. Lawrence River. There was like a chipmunk floating in the river and he saved it with his, like, in the middle of the river.
Seen that. It's like
what is his name? I can't believe I'm forgetting his name.
No, I remember that video though. Like they revived a little chipmunk that's trying to swim out there. That was kind of funny.
You let him just chill in his boat for a while. I'm trying to remember. I can't believe I'm forgetting. Not David. What's his first? LeBrun. His last name's LeBrun. I can't remember. Nick LeBrun. Yeah. Good God, I feel like an idiot for forgetting his name. But that video is hilarious. He's like, "What the heck is that?" And he turns around in the middle of St. Lawrence River and scoops his chipmunk that's like trying to swim with his net.
I got one more story I'll give you, and then I'm gonna pop off of here. Just a crazy thing that happened on the water, not necessarily spooky or anything, but my dad and I, we had this section of bank that we fish. We call it smallmouth spots, just limestones, got caves and stuff in it, and just a bluff wall basically. And we're working around. There's one slough right there that's got kind of a graded, easy grade coming down to it right there. And we're fishing our way into it, and all of a sudden I start hearing all this commotion in the woods, and I'm like, man, it sounds like something's running, and I see a deer sprint through, and I thought I saw another deer with it, like they were running from something, and then they come back again, boom, kind of through where you can barely see in this little thicket. And I'm like, what is that? Because I knew I could tell there was a deer, but I couldn't tell what the other thing was. And about that time, this little fawn explodes out of the privet and stuff that's right there and hits the water and starts swimming towards our boat. And I'm kind of behind this brush pile that we're getting ready to go into this slough, so this deer can't really see me. And then right behind it, a big coyote comes running out of the woods and jumps in the water and is swimming after it. And so I was like, oh, heck no. I got my trolling motor. I cranked it on 5, and I start zipping over there. They're going away at an angle, so this dude doesn't see me coming. And he gets all the way to that fawn and grabs it by the head and turns around right as I'm swinging down with the paddle. And I literally just hit that thing so hard with the flat edge of the paddle in the back of the neck. It just sinks. And I scooted the trolling motor around and pushed the fawn back over there.
Dude, that is badass.
But the look on his face, I'll never forget. He was just like, wow, I've really messed up here.
Dude, that's like some Wile E. Coyote and a Roadrunner kind of stuff.
Yeah, I had to handle ready for his butt, that's for sure.
That's all. I mean, dude, if we want to talk hunting stories and in the woods, I mean, we could do a whole nother show on that.
Dude, I can just picture this coyote turn around and eyes bugging out.
Yeah, that's what
he's like.
The look on his face, he still got that fawn, the back of the fawn's head, like in his mouth. He just grabs it and then he looks over at me, and I'm coming already down. He's like, oh!
I'm gone.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was already way too late. He
He's like,
didn't
I
realize
accept
he'd
this
already
fate.
crossed the bridge.
At that point, you might as well cue Kansas, dust in the wind.
Exactly. Yeah, that was fantastic. That was my dad and I will never forget that one. That was just kind of a
Yeah.
funny.
And the guy later that day is sign imaging that bank. And he goes, "What in the world is that?"
Yeah. See it on the live scope. It's like this
Yeah.
wily coyote halfway down, suspended in the water column.
Oh gosh, that's incredible.
Mm.
Well, boys, I'd say we call it a night right here.
That
But
sounds
this
like
was
a plan to me. I'm gonna go hang out with the wifey here.
heck yeah, buddy. Where can people find you? Should they just follow you on social media to know
Yeah,
about the
just
service?
you can look me up, Bass Quest, on YouTube, Bass Quest on Facebook, Bass Quest on Instagram. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, all I'm going to say is make sure you type the B in there. You're going somewhere else.
That's right.
Oh, that's incredible.
Oh my gosh. What a great way to end the show.
Caleb, you got some great SEO coming your way.
That's right. That's right.
Well, heck yeah. Well, for Rudd, Caleb, and I guess we'll put Forrest social media down there in the show description, so all you guys can go check them out all along. Highly encourage you to, and especially if you're going to want a guide trip down there towards in the Tennessee area, Caleb's your man. So, well, boys, appreciate you guys joining. We're going to close it out. Adam, Andy, and I are going to close it out here, but appreciate you both joining in for the show. Some really good stories. We'll talk to you both soon.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Well, fellas, that was fun.
I know.
I like these not so serious shows every now and then for a little bit of a refresher.
I'm with you, dude. We should do like some sort of funny one. Yeah, because like I felt like we had some funny stories, and I was like, all right, my story is a little too serious maybe for this, but it was a scary situation.
Yeah, no, it fit. I mean, it's like that's just like a whole different level of like, oh shit, than a lot of other people.
Whew.
Yeah, I mean, I think this calls for like almost every holiday. We kind of have a little celebration. I mean, the folks like it, so why not?
Yeah.
I think we should keep it rolling. But a couple things really fast for folks before we go into next week. Deacon, you have a cool episode coming up for Monday. You want to tell the folks real fast?
Yeah, guys, really excited. We've got Pete Glusak from the Bass University on Business from the Bass Boat talking about how he started that company and everything he's got going. So some wild stories of starting that thing. And I just love that stuff. I eat that entrepreneur stuff up, and he's through and through a fisherman and an entrepreneur. And so it's a fun conversation.
Heck yeah. And coming for Friday, we have Drew Gregory coming up on a Serious Angler talking about his little debacle with the Bassmaster Kayak Series where he won the last event of Pickwick, earned his Angler of the Year, was protested, disqualified, appealed, and now won. So he gained it all back. So we talk about that whole thing and how that all went down. Yeah,
dude,
so,
I didn't know that happened. I knew there was like I had seen and just heard some like drama things, but wow, good for him for getting
it's some wild stuff. It's actually pretty eye opening, and really what we talked about is it's good for the sport that now this can all create better rules, because it was really what the problem was. It's a gray area and a rule, so that's what it's all kind of about, and we'll break it down in that episode. So stay tuned for that. And then you guys are stuck with Andy next week because I'm headed down Hobie Tournament of Champions. So I will be tuned out for the week.
Stuck. Blessed with Andy.
I don't know if I can go that far. Let's hope I continue to stay COVID free here.
Oh
yeah.
Stay alive.
Yeah, people are definitely excited. They're like, "Thank God he's leaving again. He's off for another show."
Bailey, you're going to compete in the championship, man. Go kill it, dude.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. But any other notes for the folks? Anything else we need to cover? One last thing is we have 4 bonus shows coming from our X2 Power content trip down in Alabama. So you guys will look out for that. If you follow us on social, you'll know when they are, or you'll see it come up as a new bonus show. So, boys, without further ado, I think we call it a night here.
Sounds good.
Cool. Well, folks, we'll see y'all on Friday.